Hello everyone, happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And today I am so excited to share with you 3 quick and easy to mass produce Christmas projects made with the Evergreen Elegance stamp set by Stampin' Up! Now, we all know that the holidays can get pretty darn hectic and they can sneak up on us in a really big hurry, right? Now, I know some people don't even want to think about Christmas cards, here in Canada anyways, until after Halloween. But honestly, if we're going to get them done and in the mail so that they get out to people in time for Christmas, we need to really get started doing our crafting now, really. So I thought I would show you 3 really quick and easy designs that you can mass produce pretty easily with the Evergreen Elegance stamp set. So this stamp set is actually in the annual Stampin' Up! Catalog. It's not in the Holiday Mini, but it is a fantastic set. It actually comes in a bundle with a cool punch. I'm not going to use the punch today. I wanted to just focus on the stamp set, specifically for people who maybe are a little bit newer to crafting, who maybe not have a million supplies or a million different ink colors. So I'm only using 2 different colors of ink today. I am doing a little bit of heat embossing, which is a technique that is a little bit more advanced, but for newer stampers, you could totally substitute and just use a different shade of ink for the heat embossing. And I'll show you that as we go. So let me see who is here joining me today, and we will get right to it. All right, so who is here? This is always fun. All right. Oh, hi, Jill. Hi, Judy. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Judith. All right. We've got some folks joining. So we are going to get to some stamping. I'm going to flip the camera and then I'll show you the stamp set and we're going to get to our projects. Okay. So give me a sec. All right. That looks pretty good. It's almost straight. There we go. Okay, we are set to go. So Evergreen Elegance is the stamp set, and as I mentioned, it is in the annual catalog, not in the mini. So this one is around all year long, which is great because I know people who actually like to do Christmas cards all year, and that way they're not rushed to do it during the holiday season. So we're going to be using this set, and as I said, just 2 shades of ink today, and we're going to get to it. All right. So our first project is this one here. I posted this yesterday. Now, yesterday, we probably all know, Facebook and Instagram had a little temper tantrum. And so I don't know how many of you actually saw this project that I posted yesterday. I posted it first thing in the morning. And Facebook went down shortly after I posted. So if you missed it, here it is. It's a super simple card. Doesn't have a whole lot to it, but I will show you how to put it together. And again, my goal today is to show you projects that you can make pretty quickly and mass produce easily. Okay. So to start, oh, hi, Debbie. Oh, you have a cool day today. It is humid and cloudy here and yucky. It's been a yucky week here in Ontario. So first of all, I have a piece of basic white cardstock. It's 5 1/4 by 4 inches, and I've embossed it using the Merry Melody embossing folder. Now, as a music teacher, this was like a no-brainer. I had to have this in my studio, and I love the look of sheet music. It's well, when you know how to read it, it's kind of like librarians and books. You just like looking at it. So this pattern is just a beautiful, deep, it's a 3D folder. And if you're wondering, the tune that is actually, the song that's actually impressed on here is Joy to the World. So there you go. There's your fun fact for today. So I've embossed my cardstock ahead of time. I have here a 1 1/2 by 5 1/4 inch piece of Tidings of Christmas designer paper. So I had all sorts of little sort of 2-inch wide strips of this DSP from an event that I did in the summer. And I was trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do with all these strips? So the first thing on this card, I just cut it down to 1 1/2 inches. And I'm going to lay that across the middle of my emboss panel and glue it down. So we'll grab a little bit of seal here. Hi, Krista. How are you? Hi, Gladys. Hi, Huda. Hi, Cindy. Thank you for joining me. Hope you girls are having a good week. So we're going to put this on, and you're going to see that this ends up being about a third. It fills about a third of the space on the card. So again, I'm going to use my grid lines here to make sure my piece is straight. Now this is a little bit longer than I need it to be, so we're actually going to bring in our trimmer and just trim off that excess. Sometimes when we're cutting, our measurements are not quite as precise as we might like them to be. So that way we can clean that up, and then we have nice even edges. Okay. All right. Next, we're going to add a little bit of gold shimmer ribbon. This is beautiful ribbon, also from the annual catalog. I feel like the annual catalog is sort of like the neglected child when the mini comes out. All the attention goes to the mini, and all the beautiful products in the annual kind of get forgotten about. So today we're kind of shining a light back on the annual catalog for a little bit. So I'm just taking a bit of this ribbon and running it across the front of my panel here. And I'm just wrapping the ends around and adhering it. So I'm not actually wrapping it all the way around the panel, just across the front. There's no need to waste ribbon on the back where nobody's going to see it. So now we are ready to adhere this to our card base. So this is a thick basic white card base. It's 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle at 4.25. So we'll just go ahead and fold that in half along our score line, and somewhere in my basket of goodies here I have a bone folder. And we're going to add a little bit more adhesive to the back, and then we're going to pop this onto our card base. Now you want to make sure, okay, to not annoy the musicians in your life, if you are using this Merry Melody embossing folder, make sure your notes are going, or your music's going the right way. So if you look, I just covered it up, but there's clefs. We have a bass clef and a treble clef, and you see here, I'm holding it up, hoping you can see. We have a 2 and a 4. The 2 goes on top, like the numbers here have to be right side up. So if you don't read music and you don't know what all this stuff means, just look for those numbers at the beginning and make sure they're right side up, okay? That will make the musicians in your life quite happy. Okay, now this die cut stitched scallop rectangle is cut using the Stitch So Sweetly dies from Real Red cardstock. And I'm actually going to tuck that in behind my ribbon and glue it down, because then we're going to pop our focal image up on top. Okay, so we're going to add, whoops, that's not what I need. I need liquid glue. So we're going to add just a little bit of liquid glue to the back of our scalloped rectangle. Hi Claire, how are you? So we're going to just slide that in there and center it, both side to side and top to bottom, as best we can, and hopefully get it straight. That's always a hopeful, not a guarantee. And then we're going to bring in the next size down. So in this die set, I think there are 5 different scallop rectangle dies. So this is the next size down. And I'm going to bring in this sort of pine bough stamp. This is actually my favorite stamp from the stamp set, because there's so many things you can do with it. So I'm using Evening Evergreen ink. I'm going to ink up my pine bough, and I'm going to stamp once along the bottom of my scalloped rectangle, and then I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to stamp it again along the bottom. Again, just because it's easier to stamp along, at least I think so. Whatever. All right, so that is it. So easy. So that is going to get popped up, centered on our red scallop rectangle. So we'll add a couple of dimensionals here and get rid of our backings. Oh, I broke my thumbnail, so I'm having a hard time picking up my dimensional backings. So we're just going to center that just like that. Okay. Now ahead of time, somewhere, where did I put it? Where'd you go? There you are. Ahead of time, I stamped and heat embossed my Merry Christmas sentiment. Now, if you are newer to stamping and you don't have the tools to do heat embossing, you can absolutely stamp this in. I would stamp it in the Real Red. A black would even work. Just a contrasting shade to so that that's a little bit different from what you have on your background. Okay, so we're going to use our Tailor Tag Punch. This is my go-to. And punch banner end. So I'm going to come in as far as I can see the S of the sentiment, and then back it out a little bit and punch. Okay, and then same thing on the other end. So there's the little loop from the M. I'm going to back it out a bit and punch. Now if you don't have this punch, you can certainly cut notches in the ends with your paper snips. Okay, so that is going to get, again, popped up over our pine boughs. So again, we'll get rid of our backings here. Hi, Bonnie. Hi, Giselle. Thank you. It's a really quick and easy card. So today I'm all about quick and easy and good for mass production. Because as we get closer to the Christmas season, we start to think about, you know, how many Christmas cards we have to send and getting them all made. All right, so we're going to tie a little bow with our beautiful gold shimmer ribbons. We're just going to make 2 loops, 2 bunny ears. We're going to cross the left one over the right and then bring our loop through and pull tight. Now you just want to make sure you keep your ribbon nice and flat so it doesn't twist. That will give you the best looking bow. And we'll trim our ends a little bit here. Set that aside. And then this is going to go on just sort of at where the point of the V is on the left side of my sentiment. So I'm just going to press the knot of my bow into a glue dot. And we're just going to press that onto the front of our card. Okay, so it looks like it's wrapped around and tied, but it is not. Okay, much easier. And then finally, we have to add a bit of bling because in my opinion, every Christmas card needs to sparkle just a little. So we have some of our red rhinestone gems. So we're going to add 1, 2, and 3, just like they're little berries in our pine boughs. Okay, and that's it. So simple. As I said, really easy to mass produce. On the inside of my sample, I stamped some more pine boughs along the bottom edge and then another sentiment. And there you go. Quick and easy Christmas card. Done and done. All right. Okay, let's move on. Clean up my mess here a little bit. Next one I'm going to show you is this one. Now this is one I posted earlier today. Again, super quick and easy. And again, another design that is going to help me use up some of that Tidings of Christmas designer paper. So as I mentioned, I have a ton of this left over from an event I did in the summer, my Christmas in July event. And I have lots of these 2-inch wide strips, like probably 200 or 300 of these 2-inch wide strips. I'm not kidding when I say a lot. So I'm trying to find ways to use them up. So we're going to start this time with an Evergreen Elegance card base. Okay, it's 4 1/4 by 11. I scored it in the middle and folded it at 5 1/2. Okay, and then we have this again 2-inch strip of Kraft cardstock. So this is from the mini catalog, this cardstock, and I just love sort of the natural raw texture to it. Now to add to that texture, I've embossed it using the wintry embossing folder. It kind of has like a pine branch look, and that is going to get glued along the right edge of my card. Okay, just like that. And I want to make sure I have an equal border on the right side, top and bottom. Okay, so anytime I'm, wanting to be able to adjust once I get my piece on, I like to use my liquid glue. Just gives me a bit of wiggle time. All right, and then we're going to get that on there and just adjust that so we have an equal border. Okay. All good. All right. Oh, I forgot to look at comments. Sorry, you guys. I'm not ignoring you. Yes, it is super simple card, Joyce. But again, my goal today is about quick and easy and good for mass production. So hopefully that gives you an idea. Yes, Kathy, that gold ribbon is the bomb, and it really does bring the card together. Yes, Deb, you absolutely need to order some of this gold ribbon. It's fantastic. All right, so here is another one of those 2-inch wide strips of the Tidings of Christmas designer paper. So I kept one at 2 inches. I cut it down to 5 1/4, and then I cut another one down to 1 inch. And what I'm using the other side. So this is the same pattern, right? But I'm using the reverse side. So what I wanted to do here was to create just a little bit of a textured layer behind my pine trees. So we're going to just add a little bit of adhesive to one long edge, and then we're going to go ahead and layer that onto our other piece. And ideally, this is going to go on straight. Ideally. Doesn't always, but again, using your grid paper helps. So I've got about 1/4 of an inch of the stripe showing. Okay. All right, now this piece is going to get layered on the other half of my card front. Okay, so you can see I've got my equal border on this side and it lines up with my Kraft piece that I've already adhered. Okay, so again, we'll add a little bit of glue. And we're going to pop this on. I always like to start as close as I can get and then just adjust slightly if I can. There we go. That looks good. Okay, and that's it. That's our background. So another little idea for how to use up, you know, pieces and odd bits of DSP that you may have kicking around. All right, so for my focal image on this one, I have a 3x4 inch piece of basic white cardstock. And I have the tallest spruce tree from the stamp set. So I'm using this one here. There are 3 different sizes in this set, but I pretty much only use this one today. Okay, so we're going to pull in our Evening Evergreen ink again. And I'm going to ink up my tree. So the first thing I'm going to do is stamp my trees that are in the foreground. Okay, so these are going to be full strength. I'm going to do a tall one, I'm going to do a short one, I'm going to do kind of an in-between one. Okay, so we're going to start with our short one in the middle. Okay, re-ink. We'll do our tall one off to the left. And then we'll kind of do our medium one off to the right. Okay, now that I've got those done, I can layer in behind, so do the trees in the background. So I've stamped off once. I'm going to add one there, stamp off again, we'll add one there, stamp off twice this time, and we're going to add a few more in the background. Okay, so as we stamp off, we are lightening the shade of the ink, which makes the trees look like they're sort of fading into the background. See how that works? So full strength, stamped off once, stamped off twice. It's kind of cool, the effect that you can get with just one ink pad. Okay, so don't be afraid to play around with stamping off with your ink pads and get some really cool effects. All right. Okay, that's all there is to that. How easy, right? Now we're going to layer that on a piece of cherry cobbler cardstock. It's 3 1/8 by 4 1/8. So you're going to see we have a nice narrow little border. You know me and my narrow borders, you guys. So again, we'll add a little bit of adhesive to the back of our stamped panel. And we're going to pop this on. And again, we want equal border on all 3 sides, ideally. There we go. That looks pretty good. Okay. And then that is going to get popped up against our backdrop. So we're going to put my, there. They have a way of disappearing. Do you ever find that? Something that you had in your hand like 2 seconds ago when you're crafting suddenly disappears in the chaos that is your desk. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. All right. We're going to get rid of our backings here. Oh, we've got Deb joining us and Mary. Hi, Gail. Hi, Linda. Thanks for popping by today. So we are going to center our focal image on our background right about there. Okay, and then we're going to work on our sentiment. So I have here a die cut label. If you are new to stamping and don't have a die cutting machine, we do offer some really cool label punches, or you could just cut a rectangle. It doesn't have to have a decorative edge on it. So I'm going to bring back my Evening Evergreen ink. Again, I told you I was only using 3 shades of ink. So far I've only used 1. Or sorry, 2 shades of ink today. I've only used 1 so far. So I'm going to bring in my sentiment that says, it's friends like you that make this season so wonderful. So we're going to stamp that full strength on our label and hopefully relatively straight. Okay. Then I'm going to bring back this pine bough stamp. Okay. So this is the one that we used on the last card. I'm going to stamp off once, twice, and then stamp on my label. And just see how that just gives me just a little bit of texture. Okay, I'm a big fan of no naked labels, or no naked sentiments. So I always like to add a little something something to my sentiments, just to draw a little bit more attention to them. Okay, so that's going to go on just like that. Now before we do that, we're going to add some of this gorgeous Evening Evergreen chevron weave ribbon. Now this is literally the last bit that I currently have. I'm waiting on an order to come because I am totally out of this ribbon, save for this little bit. So hopefully it's enough to do what we need to do on the back of our label here. So I'm going to add some tape, so just some Stampin' Seal here. And I'm going to start at a bit of an angle. So think about this as making either an N or a Z or a Z, depending on where you are in the world. So I'm going to start with just a little bit kind of hanging off the label. I'm going to come on. I'm going to kind of create my, come back across. So it's kind of zigzagging across and then back across this way. Oh, look at that. Just enough. And that's what I end up with. Okay, now I'm going to trim the ends, make them look a little bit prettier. So we'll trim them at angles. We'll go this way with this one. Okay, and that's all there is to it. So that's a really subtle, easy way. If you are not a fan of tying bows, it's an easy way to add ribbon texture to your project without having to stress about trying to tie a bow. All right, so we're going to add a couple of dimensionals to this. You know, I am a big fan of dimensionals, and I have no issue with double popped cards. Okay, so double pop simply means I pop this layer up. Now I'm going to pop this layer up because, you know, I can. And somehow I get away with mailing them without extra postage. I just do it. I don't ask permission. I just put them in the mail with a stamp, and I've never had a problem. Knock on wood. All right, so we're going to pop this on just like that. Okay, and then again, our last little touch is to add a bit of bling. So we'll bring back some more of those red rhinestones. Now this is like literally just the tail end of a package. You actually get 150 of these in a package. So don't look at this and go, wow, there's hardly anything in that package. There's hardly anything left in this package, I should say. Okay, so we're just going to add a couple of these little guys. So just a design tip when you were adding these little embellishments. Let's do this guy. Oh, we'll do it up here. You want to make a triangle with these guys. Okay, don't do them in a straight line. Does not look visually pleasing. Okay, so there is our finished card. Now on the inside of this one, I added a white panel, stamped some more trees. So full strength, stamped off once, stamped off twice, and another sentiment. Okay, super easy. Hi, Mary Beth. Hi, Deborah. Hi, Debbie. All right, we're on our last card. I told you these were quick and easy. All right, this is a great stamp set for quick and easy mass-produced cards. All right, if you have a lot of cards to send, it's a good one. All right, so this is our last one. So I'm changing my color scheme a little bit. So here on the first two, I was focusing on the Tidings of Christmas Designer Series paper. And actually, believe it or not, this is the same paper pack still. Okay, I wasn't kidding when I said I had a lot of strips of this. But I wanted to change up the color scheme a little bit. So I moved away from Evening Evergreen, and instead I'm using Mossy Meadow for my green. Okay, so let's pull that kit in here, and we will give this one a go. Probably should move my Evening Evergreen ink pad out of the way just so I don't have a disaster. Okay, so to start, I have a piece of Mossy Meadow cardstock. It is 4 by 5 1/4 inches. Okay, and then I have yet another 2-inch wide strip of Tidings of Christmas DSP. So that is more obviously from the Tidings of Christmas pack. But I love this snowflake pattern. It's Sahara sand and white. And I thought, how fun would it be to actually stamp my trees right onto the Sahara sand DSP. It is okay to stamp on Designer Series paper. Did you know that? It's allowed. Okay, so what I'm going to do first though is I'm going to stamp my pine boughs that are going to kind of peek out from my stamped panel. So to get the spacing right, I'm actually going to take my panel, I'm going to flip my DSP over so that I'm going to use it kind of as a mask, all right, or just sort of as a guide for where I want my pine boughs to go. Now I need to stamp this off a little bit to make sure I get rid of most of my Evening Evergreen. And then I'm going to bring in my Mossy Meadow ink pad. So we're going to ink that up, and I'm going to stamp across. Now don't worry about this gap, okay? Don't stress about it. It may be bothering you right now. It's not bothering me one little bit. Why? Because we're going to cover it, okay? All right, now, and actually I was thinking once I finished designing this, I was thinking I needed a little hint of something along this edge. So we're going to change our design because we can. And it's my design, so why not? So I'm just going to do a little hint of the branches kind of coming along that left edge there. Okay, just to fill in that empty space a bit. All right. Okay, so we're going to set that aside. You're going to see how much better that's going to look when we're done with it. So I'm flipping my DSP back over so I have my snowflakes showing. I'm bringing back my mossy meadow and my pine tree or spruce tree. Get rid of, I better give that a clean. That's got a lot of ink on it. Because we want a true mossy meadow. We don't want a hybrid mossy meadow evening evergreen. Okay. All right. So let's ink this up. And again, we're going to use that same sort of technique. So we're going to start with a full strength image in the center. Okay. So I'm just kind of stamping along the edge of my DSP. And then I'm going to ink, stamp off, add a stamped off tree here. That's a little bit smaller. Stamp off once, twice, and another stamped off tree on that side. You know what? That's too light. We're going to actually only do stamped off once. And it won't matter that I stamped over that. Okay, totally works. All right, so that is that. That's so easy, right? But stamping on the DSP, it just gives us that instant texture. It's a snowfall in a forest, right? Okay, now we're going to do the same kind of thing with this piece that we did on the last piece. And I'm going to explain why. There is something in card design called the rule of thirds. And visually, our eye prefers to see a surface or an area, design area, divided into thirds rather than into halves. So if I were to stick this down right here, what that would do is divide this visually into half. We have 2 inches and 2 inches, right? Our eye doesn't like that. So by adding this extra layer in behind, we're actually making this element seem wider, and that is visually more pleasing. Okay, it's also nice to have that little touch of gold. So we're gonna, again, add some glue along that long edge of our designer paper. Hi Judy, how are you? And again, I'm going to leave showing about 1/4 of an inch of the gold. Okay, so I'm just going to lay my DSP piece over, and I think the gold is just a little bit longer than my DSP. Excuse me, I've got the hiccups here. Great timing for the hiccups, right? Live video, woohoo! Oh yeah, some days you just kind of have to shake your head and laugh. All right, so there it is. So simple. Now we're going to adhere that to our stamped background panel, and you're going to see, remember that gap that we didn't like so much? It's going to be covered by that gold, and that's just not quite straight. That's going to bug me. There we go. That's going to be covered by the gold foil. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue that on. Actually, yeah, we'll use liquid glue. Only because I can't find my seal right now. Did I mention things tend to disappear on my craft table when I'm working? All right, so let's layer that on here just like that. Okay. Isn't that pretty? I love just that extra little bit of texture. Now this is ready to get layered onto our card base. So my card base this time, I wanted to go neutral, is Sahara Sand cardstock. It is 4 1/4 by 11, scored in the middle at 5 1/2. So we'll fold that in half along our score line once again. And this time I'm going to use a bit of seal because I found it. It was hiding under my card base. That's why I couldn't see it earlier. And we're going to pop this on to our card base. Just like that. Okay. And then we're ready to add our focal image. So my focal image is simply a sentiment, a little bit different this time. So I went with a circle. So this is again heat embossing gold. Again, if you don't have the heat embossing tools, you can certainly stamp it in ink. Not a problem at all. And then I have a gold foil circle that I have die cut to coordinate with my little gold foil border here. So it's going to layer behind my what am I trying to say? My sentiment circle. Holy cow. Sometimes words escape me, especially after I've been teaching all day. All right, we're going to add a little bit of adhesive and center that. We're going to center that on that. How's that? You know what I'm talking about, right? Man. Okay. Then I have part of a die cut that is from the mini catalog. It is the Christmas pine cones. I think that's what it's called. And you get this huge, like card front size die cut, but I tend to use it and then cut it up to get the pine boughs off of it because I like having pine boughs as a little sort of accent on my projects. So this one isn't so nice because I trimmed it off. I trimmed something else off of it. So we've got a couple pine boughs there. We're going to trim a couple of these off of here. And then we're going to trim a couple off of here. Christmas pine cones. That's what this is called. Came to me. All right. So we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of adhesive just sort of in this bottom section of our circle. I was going to say bottom corner, but circles don't have corners, right? So I'm going to add a couple of pine branches, just sort of peeking out from behind. We're going to need a little bit more glue there. Peeking out from behind our sentiment. So we'll add one there. And then this little guy is going to kind of tuck right about there just to fill that in. We're going to use a glue dot for him because he's pretty delicate. I don't want to get him. I don't want to tear him. So let's just grab a glue dot. And we're going to pop him in right about there. Okay, so now we have just a little bunch of pine branches that are going to be a little accent behind our sentiment. This, of course, is going to get popped up. Wouldn't have it any other way. So we'll add a couple of dimensionals there. And we're going to center that, not center that, we're going to pop that in the top left circle and hopefully straight. Okay, and then we need a little pop of color. So I was looking at this going, it just needs a little something. And that little something is a red bow. Okay, so Christmas, green and red, right? Complementary colors. We love green and red for Christmas. They're so traditional. So I decided to add a little bit of this gorgeous real red sheer ribbon. So again, we're going to tie a little bow. This is my very favorite ribbon to tie bows with. I actually tied several hundred of these for an upcoming event that I have. And I just literally sit watching TV, and my husband and I watch the Amazon Prime Maple Leafs series. We just kind of sat and watched, and I tied bows. It's so easy to get pretty bows with this ribbon. So I'm going to trim my tails. And we're going to pop this on right here. So it's going to kind of look like the bow is sort of holding our pine branches onto our sentiment there. So again, we'll just press the knot of our bow into a glue dot, and we're just going to press that onto just the edge of the circle there. And just that little pop of red, it draws the eye to the sentiment, and it just makes the whole card pop. I love it. All right, so this time we're going to add a little bit of gold bling because we've got the gold thing going on. We certainly could add red as well. The red totally works, but let's go with some gold. So we'll just add a couple. Now, the cool thing about these gilded gems is that they come in 3 sizes. So it's pretty easy to switch up the size of your embellishments because they come in 3. So there you go. So easy. All right. How simple and easy were these cards to make? Like, super simple. All right, now I'll show you again on the inside of this one. Just added a white panel, did some more stamped trees and another sentiment. Okay, so simple. So let me pull these all back in so you can see them all. 1, 2, and 3. There you go. Okay, so fast, easy, duplicatable, mass producible. That was the name of the game today. Okay. And you have to remember, guys, that simple and easily duplicatable can be really pretty too, right? They don't have to be just super simple. You can add layers and still make them easy to replicate. Okay? All right, everyone. Thanks so much. Betty, your bows never look like that. You need to practice. You need to practice. Hello, sister. Thank you. Thanks, Jill. All right. So I hope you enjoyed these, you guys. Enjoy your evening. I'm going to go up and have some dinner with my fam and take it easy today. I'm a little tired. It's been a hectic couple of weeks. So have a great evening, a super week, and I'll see you next week for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. Bye for now.